So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Bhavna Bhatia and I welcome you all to the World Cybersecurity Summit, Qatar. And right now we're on our BFSI panel discussion after that incredible networking break. Well, the topic is financial institutions, cyber readiness in the post-pandemic world, where we're looking at talking about developing successful access management policies for financial institutions, protecting sensitive customer data, understanding security loopholes and preventing data breach, how to balance cybersecurity and regulatory compliance. It is never too late. Why does one need a disaster recovery plan? And also keeping your staff and clients on the side of cybersecurity with regular updates about the risks such as phishing attacks and social engineering. Well, we're elated to be joined by our eminent panelists. First up, introducing to you on the stage and screen right now is Professor Meryem Duygun, who's the Aviva Chair in Risk and Insurance in the University of Nottingham, UK. Well, Professor Meryem holds an endowed chair professor in risk and insurance funded by the UK largest insurance company, Aviva. Meryem directs the ESRC IAA funded University of Nottingham FinTech Research Network. Thank you so much, Professor Meryem, for joining us today and giving us your time. Also joining Professor Meryem on the screen is going to be Sachin Sharma, Head IT Infrastructure and Information Security, National Life and General Insurance Company, SAOG Oman. Sachin has over 15 plus years of experience with the IT industry, oversees the organization's technological direction, including planning, implementation, and maintaining the best practices that align with all the corporate functions. Thank you so much, Sachin, for joining us today. Thank you, Meryem, for giving us your valuable time as well. And ladies and gentlemen, also joining us on the screen and stage is Sinan, who's the Vice President of Interprom. Sinan, an electric and electronics engineer. He's somebody who's graduated from the Middle East Tech University Ankara. He's somebody who's completed his master's degree at the same university on cryptology. He's been working for the defense industry for more than 25 years. His career started as an embedded software engineer at Turkey. Thank you so much, Sinan, for joining us today and giving us your valuable time. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, finally, it is time for me to introduce you to the moderator of the panel discussion. Joining us now on the stage and screen is Jelena Zelinovic Mator, who's a Senior Head Operations Risk and CISO, European Investment Bank, W4C, President, Luxembourg. Well, Jelena is a leading CISO who was awarded as a CISO of the Year for 2019 in Luxembourg and recently CISO Sentinel Global and CISO of the Year Europe and a president of the W4C chapter Luxembourg and Women Cyber Force Luxembourg. Thank you so much, Jelena, for joining us today and being a part of this incredible panel discussion. So ladies and gentlemen, as you can see on your screen are all your eminent panelists. With this, I'd now pass it on to Jelena to take it forward with her panel. Over to you.
Thank you very much for such a nice introduction. And I think we have a great panelists today. So I'm very happy, actually, and honored to be moderating such a panel today. So welcome everybody, welcome the panelists. I guess everybody knows the topic, and it's one of the topics today that we'll be discussing that probably everybody has problems with or some challenges in their organizations. So Sachin, perhaps on to you. Welcome, and I would like to ask you perhaps to talk a bit and give us a bit about how to identify security loopholes and ensuring the data breaches in today's world. Something that I guess everybody will find very interesting if you could give us a little bit of an insights on this.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the panel, to the organization, and each one of you who are participating in this. As well as I would like to say thank you to our participants, also to audience who all are giving their valuable times to listen. Definitely the topic which you have asked is big. In today's world, after this pandemic situation, when new norm already introduced over there in the market, and we can see across every day many of organizations and people getting hacked. It is not about the specific domain. If you talk about this BFSI, we talk about insurance, especially the organizations who all are dealing with customer confidential informations, where they have to ensure that customer data which they are dealing with is safe and secure. It's a big challenge in today's date. Honestly speaking, we all are vulnerable. nothing is safe and secure, but still there are some practices, there are some solutions available over there which we should consider. For every organization, there are some best practices available. We should always scan our system. We should always do regular kind of stuffs, like we should consider our endpoints. We should check the external and internal gates, how the communication, how the transactions are happening over there, and how we are dealing our customer confidential information, especially when we talk about the BFSI, because in BFSI we have our customers' contact details. We have their policy numbers, we have their passports, their contact numbers. So it is every insurance or BFI sector, there's their responsibility to ensure. I'm not going to report it. I already told that. So there are practices over there which we adopt. There are technologies available in the market. We should evaluate that. It is not that whatever is there in market, we will just take it and we will implement it. We have to see what is the right fitment for our domain. And the major concern is basically how we have implemented that. So we should see how the governance is saying, what are the regulators are saying. Now, today's world, everyone is talking about the cloud. We are going to cloud. That is okay. We are not against that. But we should assess the environment, we should assess our architecture, we should see how we should start this journey and how we should bring here to there. So behind so end of the day, what I'm trying to tell here is, from my experience here, always assess your system. We people are doing that, it is no doubt in that. Always revisit your architectures, see the loophole in the firewalls, do the regular reviews, make users aware, run the campaigns, do the phishings for your users, so that they will be aware, run the training sessions. Many of organizations having their L&D team, learning team basically, and then utilize that. There are consultants available in market. Majorly attacks targets with the endpoints, end users, because generally users keep do very small mistakes. They don't keep complex passwords. They keep passwords very common, their names, their date of birth, card number, which is very easy to hack and easy to get into it. Once the hackers will get inside your endpoint, it's very easy for them to travel the network within the system. So always maintain the best practices available in market. That is what I'm saying, that is very difficult to explain the entire practices in this session because I have very few minutes over there. So overall, I am saying that these are the main practices every organization should consider and adopt that. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin, very much. And it's very interesting, in fact, that you're saying about the trainings. It's something that I really cannot say enough when I talk about this. And this brings me on to Sinan, perhaps to ask him something that will go and flow into this conversation as well. Sinan, if you could maybe talk to us how you keep your staff and your clients on your side of cybersecurity with regular updates about the risks, such as phishing attacks and social engineering.
Okay, thank you, Jelena and the team for this nice opportunity. My name is Sinan. I am the Vice President of Programs at Interpro in Ankara. I am educated from electrical electronics engineers, and I also have a graduate degree for cryptology. So cybersecurity is in our career all through my career life. Now, before starting to my speech, I would like to give a brief description about Interpro. It is a cybersecurity company. We call it a new generation defense technology, indeed, cybersecurity. Cyber threat intelligence and cyber security solutions are our other interest areas. We perform data security, data analytics, tactical and strategic cyber defense, intelligence, geographic infrastructure systems, and augmented reality-based simulation platforms. We also heavily R&D investments. We believe R&D is very important, and we produce our own products that is competing with global products in the cybersecurity and intelligence area. And when we come to our topic about the risks and how we can mitigate these risks and how we can inform our employees about the risks, If we think about the last years, last 2-3 years, there is no doubt that the financial sector has become the most prevalent target for cybersecurity attacks over these years. COVID-19 pandemic significantly increased fraudulent activities as many people become more susceptible to cybersecurity attacks by working remotely. Working from home is very common today, and it increases the cybersecurity risks too much. And today, many companies are seeking for cybersecurity partners to help manage their cybersecurity problems. And it is a warning to the banks to improve their cybersecurity measures. What are happening on the internet world, and I will give some brief descriptions and about these problems that can happen in the internet world. For instance, attacks against the financial sector increased about 200% globally from the beginning of the February to the end of the April. This is a period meeting the start of the pandemic. Also, ransomware attacks grew ninefold in this period, with phishing emails and primary sources. Financial services, cybersecurity, what can we do? What are the problems there? Personal and corporate financial customers have become the natural targets with their reported significant increase in the number of phishing emails related to COVID-19. These communications may look like they are from financial emails, seems to be from the financial institutions regarding financial support available in the wake of the pandemic, but are in fact require customers to provide or validate their accounts or identity information. Social engineering victims also increased during these periods. Customers become victims to social engineers, where fraudsters post innocent-looking fun questions on social media platforms, such as, "What was the name of your first pet?" This is used to garner personal information, then used to impersonate the customer with their bank. Jelena?
Yes, I think we lost you for a second.
Okay, now we are connected?
Now it's fine, now it's fine, we hear you. Yes, please
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Looking at the timeline of the types of the risk that customers have been exposed to, phishing and fraudulent are not new. These are not indeed new occasions. We all have these occasions from the beginning of the internet, but the volumes have significantly increased since last March. Now, if we look at the type of the attacks, usually virtual private networks or VPNs can save us from these attacks mainly, but generally users from home working users generally do not log onto the systems, and they are faced with many attacks. The first of the common attack that can face is the malwares. Malware is the most common and best known type of security threat. It is when an unwanted piece of programming or software installed itself on a target system, causing unusual behavior. Users should be aware of the behavior of their systems. They may usually see some they should be aware such an attack can be coming to their system. And of course, one of the prevention method is having the latest anti-malware program installed. Education is also of the users to recognize suspicious links, files, or websites is a very important awareness to get rid of these attacks. Periodic awareness trainings of the companies are very important for preventing from these malware attacks. Password theft is another common problem, or leaking passwords. The individual password theft is maybe not so important, but the loss of personal data is terrifying. But when an organization has been exposed for such a leak, the problem turns out to be exposing their customers' data and their own sensitive organizational data. Such companies keeping personal data should be very aware of securing their databases. Education of password security is the first line of defense against the theft and social engineering. What is password education? First of all, you have to set your password very hard. This is the first way. You should not have to write it down anywhere. You should periodically change it. And these are typically examples, and you should not use any similar password in different platforms. Another prevention method is the multi-factor authentication and the robust protection. This is the most robust protection method. You use two different devices to log on to a system in this method. Everybody should be aware of these methods. Another problem, another cyber attack is traffic interception by eavesdropping. This occurs when a third party listens to information sent between a user and the host. How can you get rid of this type of attacks? Using VPNs or SSLs. These help to mitigate these risks, eavesdropping risks, using of VPN and SSLs. Phishing attacks, this is a very, very old technique, but most commonly used techniques. In 2020, 70% of the attacks were phishing attacks. They still work very reliably by the attackers. And another method is indeed a kind of phishing attack. It's whaling attacks. In this attack type, the C-level executives are targeted because they have very important information in their systems. Attacking a C-level executive is much more efficient for the attackers. So these level of attackers should also be aware of the problems, the attack types. And social engineering is another very common method. Social engineering is the technique that used to trick users into giving away sensitive information. Occurring via any platform, deviants are very creative and utilize social media to attack their victims. Financial customers and internal users must remain vigilant of suspicious messages, friend requests, emails, or attempts to collect user info from unknown third parties. We should be also very aware during our social interactions on the internet. What are the actions to be taken by the customer side or the employer side for these kind of attacks? As I said, supporting secure remote working tools is important. using VPNs and multi-factor authentication techniques. We have to use these techniques. And testing and adjusting our incident response platforms, business continuity and disaster recovery plans. We have to be using such plans, and we have to renew, and we have to improve our such incidents response platforms and recovery plans. Physical leaks still continue. We have to secure our physical documents in our offices, at our houses. Very important. We always put our documents in trashes, but it is not enough. For instance, if we use a simple shredder, for instance, it's very easy thing, but using such tools are very important. We have to take care. And we have to expand our monitoring capabilities. Widening the scope of organization-wide monitoring activities is very important. We cannot sometimes know how will an attacker attack us. Cyber attacks are very proliferate. And basic boundary protection mechanisms such as proxies, web gateways, network intrusion detection systems, or prevention systems won't secure some home working users, but we have to expand our monitoring activities. To expand monitoring, security teams should update security information and event management systems, their CM systems, with new rule sets and discovered hashes for novel malwares. If network-based security capabilities are found to be degraded, teams should expand their incident response, BC, and data recovery plans according to this increasing capacity. And we have to clarify incident response protocols. What does this mean? SOC centers in the companies should know how to report the incidences. Redundancy options should take into response protocols so that responses don't stall. We have to use redundancies for reporting. Confirm the security of third parties is another issue. Nearly every organization uses contractors and offsite vendors today, and most integrate IT systems, and IT systems share data with both contracts and non-contract third parties. We have to be very careful making our integrations with these third parties. Cybersecurity precautions should be taken in the interfaces.
Thank you for Sinan mentioning this, because this was also an important point, I think, from Sachin about how important it is to have these third-party assessments and what to do about the cloud and a provider. And I really like the point where you talked about the COVID and what happened during the COVID and how everything increased on the cybersecurity side, especially the phishing attacks themselves. And I cannot thank you more for the answers, because every one of your answers from the panelists brings me to another question to another panelist, like Meryem. I wanted to ask him something from what Sinan said here. I would like to know how, from your perspective, what are the advice on how to develop the successful access management policies for financial institutions? If you could maybe complement the other two panelists that we had on the other side, because talking about COVID now, it is definitely important to talk about access management policies, especially for financial institutions nowadays.
Thank you very much, Yelena. I'm really enjoying the panel. We have learned a lot about how this major threat, the cybersecurity, can have a huge impact on many industries. I would like to focus here now the importance of developing successful access management policies for financial institutions. As we all know, not long ago, risk management would have covered the identification, analysis, and mitigation of traditional risks in order to ensure that a company can have the best position in the case of economic uncertainty. However, the progression into the digital age has been inevitable, and with cyber risk posing a major threat to the financial system. Most critical functions of 21st century society have become necessarily dependent on digital infrastructure, in particular this industry, the financial industry, whose business model relies on consumer confidence in the overall financial system. According to recent research undertaken in this area, cyber attacks on traditional financial institutions are estimated to have resulted in the theft of billions of dollars. The hacks on a financial firm, consumer credit reporting agencies, retailers, and government agencies could compromise the personal information of hundreds or millions of individuals. In the United Kingdom, the Bank of England and the FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, reported that financial institutions were able to defend against 2/3 of unauthorized fraud attempts in 2018. However, since the scale of attacks significantly increased, key market players have also reported breaches in the last years. This shows us that financial firms' cybersecurity defenses have not developed at a fast enough pace. Online tools are now the primary mechanisms for financial transfers. We all know about that. Most consumers, most customers rely on online services to manage their accounts and for the majority of point-of-sale payments. The more reliant on digital technology the financial system becomes, the more interconnected it is and the more vulnerable it is to cyber exploitation. Here we observe an important trend. Digital offerings becoming increasingly sophisticated. At the same time, user demands have risen rapidly. Customers now expect user-friendly services and streamlined efficiency from their online banking provider. Of course, if this is not the case, and if customers don't receive the right quality on time, they definitely look for other providers, other banks. Here, an optimal user experience across banking applications is therefore business critical for engaging with and attracting new customers. At the same time, financial information is among the most sensitive data, and unsurprisingly, customers expect their service providers to treat this data sensitively so that there is no risk of breach occurs. A fundamental step for any digitalization initiative then is to decide how users will verify who they are when accessing a banking application and which areas they have the right to access. So this is an important task that has very specific identity and access management requirements. Therefore, it's highly important for banks to know that customer-friendly identity and access management issues have two important aspects. One is to protect highly sensitive customer data. And secondly, is to ensure that there is a seamless customer experience. So I will repeat the important example that Sinan has given in his talk, and that is multi-factor authentication, the MFA, an important example here because it involves a secure layered approach to identify and implementing multi-factor identification, which will provide us extra layers for security in terms of using, for example, a mobile device or a fingerprint or a password. But the main issue here is to creating hurdles, to creating layers with multi-factor authentication so that the chances of a hacker breaching the system is significantly decreased. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this. It's very interesting. And, you know, it makes me wonder if I could just ask one question, and perhaps to you and as well all the panelists, like, what is the role of government in the context of all the policy makings, and how do you see it to reduce the risk in the financial institutions and organizations? What do you think from your perspective, all of the panelists, whoever wants to take it, what would be the role and what is the role and what should be the role of the governments and what role they play?
Thank you, Elena. Again, hello, can you hear me, Elena?
Yes, yes, please go ahead. Go ahead. I'm glad you.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is also another great question. I think governments are here, they are systematically threatened by persistent and sophisticated actors launching increasingly ambitious and sophisticated attacks, particularly on financial institutions. So the governments must signal a willingness to punish and deter this offensive action. I strongly believe that governments should develop policies to pursue guilty parties within the boundaries of international law. Therefore, this, of course, brings us enhanced international cooperation so that this can enable extraterritorial investigation and prosecution. And this will also have implications for both national and international levels. And we are here, of course, we need to think about the issues with regard to developing and emerging economies, because it is the best interest of all advanced economies as well to build cybersecurity capacity for these countries, for the developing and emerging economies, so that this can help to strengthen financial stability and support financial inclusion. The crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, has highlighted the decisive role in this case that connectivity plays an important role in us, in the advanced economies as well as in the developing world. So harnessing technology safely and securely will continue to be central to development, and within that we need to ensure that cyber risk is addressed. And as I said, this will require a collaborative effort from standard setting bodies, national regulators, supervisors, industry associations, as well as law enforcement and international organizations. I would like to give an example here from the significant role that BIS, Bank International Settlements, playing here to support international cooperation in this area, recognizing that cyber resilience is fundamentally a global public good. Thank you.
Thank you, Meryem, very much for this. I don't know if any other panelists would like to add anything on the role of the government.
Yes, Jelena, I would like to say something also.
Thank you.
The forensic infrastructure frameworks are very important. The governmental, best governmental issue that can be taken should be providing enough forensic tools to detect these kind of attacks. And after detecting these attacks with forensic tools, also the regulatory issues are very important. And in in information technology, regulations are not very strong in many countries. These regulations should be taken into account, and some strong punishment should be deployed after the achievement of the forensic frameworks. I would like to say so.
Sachin, thank you very much, Sinan.
Yeah, so I am very much agreed with both the panelists have mentioned. That is correct. Actually, government, no matter which region is it, because every region depends. Laws are different country to country, and government definitely can play a big role over there. Especially in terms of punishment, in terms of like, because end of the day, government only giving the authorizations, they only issuing the licenses to the organizations to run. Definitely, they can. On top of that, they can have some kind of regulatories over there, and they can have some kind of regulatories like in terms of scanning. Like organizations are mitigating their compliance requirements. They are doing some regular scannings in terms of VAPT scannings, etc., etc. So government can play a big role. How it is that they can authorize certain organizations. It is not that organization will go and just for mitigating the compliance requirement, they will do the VAPT and there are other security scans, and they'll just mitigate the requirement. It should not be like this. There should be some fruitful result over there. There should not be some practical reason. Government should go and audit that whether really it is mitigating or not. That is how the government can play a role over there, and that will give a great result over there. That is required in today's world actually. That's all. I think we are out of time now. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. This has been a very, very nice discussion here. Apologies, there's a lot of people in the office here. But I would like to just conclude. I really enjoyed the answers from all of you. And I think we have brought up a very important topics here. We brought up the COVID, the increase of what's happening now with the cybersecurity and COVID, the importance of something that I really always encourage, which is user awareness trainings, because we are only as strong as our weakest link. And not just that, our internal users, but also how strong are we and what we do with our third parties as well. And last but not least, I think definitely on the last question on government, I think everybody would just agree that governments need to come together and work forward some unified kind of controls for all of the countries, because there are many threats that are inevitably or are already coming our way and will have social, economic, and human impact, as we see now with COVID. So I'm really glad we've covered everything, and it's just something I think from basic controls all the way to the government's political aspects of the cybersecurity. It has been such a great discussion with all of you, and your feedback was great for me and made it much easier for me actually to do the moderation. You just brought me in for another question for each one of you. So I really thank you. I really enjoyed it very much, and I thank audience a lot for having time to stay with us today. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Alina. Thank you so much, Sinan, Sachin, and Meryem for joining us today and being a part of this incredible summit. Thank you once again for your valuable time.